Am I live? Hey y'all, it's Megan here, and I am your favorite transformation life coach. Welcome in if this is your first time. Welcome back if you're already part of the Yes God family. Here at Yes God Wellness, we focus on goddess consciousness, which is an awareness of the divine feminine energy that lives within all of us. Goddess consciousness is intentional about pausing to observe how we truly feel in any given situation or circumstance, and then honoring those emotions so that we can live in alignment with our true authentic self while having the space to nurture ourselves and others. Excuse me. Goddess consciousness is also about understanding that our worth and value is intrinsic, it's internal, it's not defined by our external possessions or circumstances. Today, I'm going to be discussing how you, yes, you, are the common denominator in all of your problems. Yes, you are. The great news is that although we are the problem, we're also the solution. My goal is to help you stop sabotaging yourself and start using that beautiful mind and heart of yours to manifest all the things that you want for your life. So, the first way I'm going to help you to stop sabotaging yourself is by making you aware of how you're even doing it in the first place. I think it's fair to say that no sound person wants to sabotage themselves. The second way I'm going to help you stop sabotaging yourselves is to introduce a new perspective and some very simple shifts that can enable you to immediately transform from passenger to pilot, okay? From pawn to queen, from spectator to champion, okay? The third way I'm going to help you is by sharing my latest offering, which I'm super excited about. And that is the Become Unrecognizable group coaching cohort. It does begin on October 1st, and it's an 8-week program where we will have daily access to one another, and we'll also meet once every week to create a safe space for you to come out of your anxious mind and embrace your goddess consciousness, because this is going to allow you to magnetize more with less. And also, you're going to be experiencing a profound sense of joy and fulfillment as you watch your new life quickly unfold before your eyes. And we are going to become truly unrecognizable. Yes, God. All right. So before I jump right in, I'm going to ask again that you please just keep an open mind as I share this information, because if you're ready and you implement what I'm going to share today, it will absolutely transform your life 1000%. Okay. I even challenge you to test the things I'm sharing and let me know what happens. Okay. So let's get right into it. All right, so let me be the first to say that I know personally and firsthand that life has highs and lows, and it can be extremely painful and difficult. From childhood trauma to relationship trauma to financial issues, health issues, betrayals, accidents, depression, anxiety, losing loved ones, and so much more. It's really a natural response to feel victimized by life circumstances. Trauma can manifest itself in several ways that insidiously take over our lives. Things like self-doubt, fear of failure, constantly feeling overwhelmed, feeling stressed out, attracting the wrong relationships, anger issues, emotional instability, procrastination, money blocks, burnout, comparison, envy, people pleasing, attachment to outcomes, lack of focus, inconsistency, low self-worth, low self-esteem, and so much more. These things can have a serious negative impact on your quality of life. The painful experiences we've had create emotional triggers for us. And a trigger is some type of stimuli that causes a strong emotional response or reaction within us. The emotional reaction is typically in response to situations or circumstances that feel similar to our original traumas. When we're triggered, our emotional reactions are usually more intense than the situation warrants, but it can be hard to decipher because your internal emotional state is very real to you while you're experiencing it. It's important to note that triggers cause an involuntary response. Typically feels like anxiety, panic, fear, and maybe sometimes even anger. So what I'm going to do is give 5 examples of how these unresolved traumas may be playing themselves out in your life. And at the end of each example, I'm going to highlight for you the difference in the results from when you allow your triggers to go unchecked and run amok versus when you adopt goddess consciousness and start transforming your triggers into your greatest teachers. Okay, we're gonna learn some alchemy today. Can we do that? We ready? Yes, God. Okay, so be sure to let me know in the comments if you can relate to any of these triggers. Okay, all right, trigger example 1, criticism or perceived rejection. If the original trauma was a childhood trauma where your parents' love or approval was conditional and based on perfection or performance, this could create a deep fear of rejection or failure. The emotional reaction you may have once you're feeling that you're being criticized could be involuntary feelings of shame, anger, sadness. You may lash out in defensiveness. You may argue. You may over-explain. You may shut down and avoid any further interactions. The consequence of not knowing how to manage this trigger can lead to strained relationships, loss of opportunities, cycles of insecurity, where you may begin to avoid situations where you may face any type of critique. And let's be clear, we need critique in our life to become better. Yes, God, from ourselves and other people. So the goddess consciousness approach to this trigger would be to pause, take a deep breath. This allows us to drop into our body, connect with our heart, and first separate the criticism from our self-worth. Our egos have the tendency of being some of the biggest internal bullies, telling us that we're not this and we're not that and we can't do this and we're lazy and all these other things, right? So the first thing, again, we want to do is assess the validity of the criticism after we, separate it from our worth. We want to look in and say, okay, is this really a valid critique? And that requires some awareness and some humility. Is it even true? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Ultimately, we want to be able to explore if and where we could actually use the feedback constructively to develop our character and foster growth and create more healthy relationships. Okay. Trigger number 2 example is abandonment or fear of being left. If the original trauma was past experiences of being abandoned or neglected, especially by caregivers or romantic partners, the emotional reaction you may have once you feel like you're being left as an adult could be panic, desperation, unwarranted jealousy when a partner or loved one pulls away even just slightly. You may feel that you're being abandoned again. You may become clingy, demanding, accusatory, constantly seeking reassurance, or you may push the other person away just to avoid being hurt. The consequences of not knowing how to manage this trigger could be that your reactive behavior it overwhelms and suffocates your partner, leading to actual abandonment, which creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, the goddess consciousness approach to this trigger would be to take a deep breath, pause, drop into our body again, connect with our heart, acknowledge the underlying fears, and we would give ourselves space and time to process our fear before ultimately having a conversation with our loved one, expressing our needs, which will promote healthy boundaries and emotional security. Okay. Trigger example number 3, feeling controlled or micromanaged. If the original trauma or pain was childhood experiences of being overly controlled by strict or overbearing parents or caregivers, this could lead to a deep-seated need for autonomy. The emotional reaction you may have once you're feeling like you're being controlled or micromanaged as an adult could be frustration, anger, rebellion against any form of perceived control, even if it's actually relevant and maybe even helpful. You might reject advice, become defiant, or act impulsively to reassert your sense of autonomy. The consequences of not knowing how to manage this trigger can lead to poor decision-making, strained workplace dynamics, sabotaging relationships and potential opportunities. All right, the goddess consciousness approach to this trigger would be to pause. Can you guess what's next? Take a deep breath. Okay, drop into our body, connect with our heart, and take the time to ground back into the understanding and truth that not all guidance is about control. Being able to accept helpful feedback improves relationships, it improves decision making, and the ability to collaborate with others. All right, trigger example number 4, being ignored or not heard. If your original trauma was early experiences where your emotions, thoughts, or needs were consistently overlooked or ignored by caregivers or loved ones, The emotional reaction you may have is to feel like once you're not being, excuse me. The emotional reaction you may have once you feel like you're not being heard as an adult could be anger, frustration, sadness. You may resort to raising your voice, interrupting, or disengage entirely from the conversation, walking away feeling defeated and disrespected. The consequences of not knowing how to manage this trigger can lead to further alienation, as other people may avoid engaging with you because they feel attacked, which leaves the issue unresolved, which again reinforces the original trauma and creates a self-fulfilling prophecy that you are going to be ignored and not heard. All right, the goddess consciousness approach to this trigger would be to take a pause, take a deep breath. Drop into your body, connect with your heart, and take time before communicating anything. In other words, shut it up, okay? Once we are calm and relaxed, we can express the feeling of being unheard without attacking the other party. This opens the opportunity for our needs to be expressed, which in this case would be our need to have our perspective considered and valued. This will foster a much more constructive dialogue where all parties can feel acknowledged. All right. And then the last one, trigger example number 5, loss of control or uncertainty. If the original trauma was a chaotic or unpredictable childhood where you felt powerless, and has now led to a deep need for control in your adult life. So the emotional reaction you may have once you feel uncertain or a loss of control as an adult could be anxiety, panic, sometimes anger when things don't go according to plan, rigid, inflexible behavior, overreacting, micromanaging, demanding certainty, even freezing in decision making due to fear of uncertainty. All right, the consequence of not knowing how to manage this trigger can lead to burnout, difficulty delegating tasks, strained relationships in both personal and professional settings. The goddess consciousness approach to this trigger would be to pause. Can you guess? Take a deep breath, drop into our body, connect with our heart, and take the time to accept that uncertainty is a part of life. It's to be expected. We could then be so much more productive with our time focusing on what can be controlled, which can reduce stress and create more adaptable, flexible problem-solving approaches. Okay. Again, don't forget to comment and let me know if any one of these you can relate to and how you manage yourself when you feel the trigger come up. Something that I live by is that while our traumas may not always be our fault, they are always our responsibility to manage. The perception that external circumstances dictate our inner thoughts, feelings, and belief is actually false. As I just illustrated with those 5 trigger examples, we come ready-made with all of our nice trauma and all of our automatic emotional reactions, which in turn influence the external circumstances and ultimately create a feedback loop about what we're manifesting and what we're experiencing. So when you show up to life with all this unresolved subconscious crap, they're secretly running the show, just like the Wizard of Oz. Okay, think about him behind the curtain running everything. Okay, that's what's happening with your trauma if you're not managing it properly. Okay, most people have it backwards and they think that their feelings and thoughts are in response to life circumstances. The reality is actually that life circumstances are in response to them. Okay, so this is why learning how to deprogram your involuntary response to triggers is really the only way to start manifesting different circumstances and conditions for yourself. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'm going to be sharing a unique perspective that will help you become more self-aware, especially when you're triggered. Okay, when emotional triggers occur, they activate the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the fight or flight response. This response has evolved to protect us from threats by increasing our heart rate, releasing stress hormones, rapid breathing, feelings of panic, anxiety, and the body prepares to either confront or escape danger. Okay? The parasympathetic nervous system is our rest and digest system, and it helps to bring the body back to a state of calm. It slows down the heart rate. It reduces stress hormones. It encourages deep, steady breathing, promoting a sense of ease, relief, and relaxation. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about how we manifest what we think about and we attract who we are, and all these cliche things about law of attraction and law of assumption. And I want to be a little bit more specific. We manifest from our nervous system. Let me say that again. We manifest from our nervous system. I want you to really ponder that for a moment. Pause the video if you need to. Think about the fact that you manifest from the vibration of your nervous system. And it doesn't give a damn what you're saying, what you pretending, what you fronting about. Your nervous system cannot lie, okay? What are you really feeling? You cannot hide that. You could tell people until you're blue in the face you're happy, or you could be saying your affirmations all over the place. Until you truly learn how to get into that parasympathetic nervous system while you're triggered, you will continue to manifest from that flight or fight space, which is ultimately fear, and will magnetize experiences that confirm your bias to live in fear. This happens through the reticular activating system, but that's a whole different topic for a whole different video. We don't put a pin in that, okay? So now for the good part. I'm going to be talking about my ACE framework, which is universal and can be applied to any situation, large or small, to help you come out of your head and come into your power, okay? ACE, ACE is an acronym for awareness, clarity, and experience. And I use this framework with my coaching clients and also in my own personal daily life. I teach it to my children. I teach it to my friends. I even taught my mama, okay? So what we're going to do is run down the ACE framework, and I'll explain exactly how to move through each one, okay? Each pillar. So starting with the A in the ACE framework, the A is for awareness. The question prompt for this is really, what is really hood? Like, what is going on right now? What is going on inside of me? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? How am I reacting? This is the place where we give ourselves time and space to move from being the experiencer of emotions over into being the observer of emotions. So the first thing that you should do here is to take 3 deep breaths and keep your mouth shut. Let's practice it together. 1. That's 2. That's 3. So taking deep breaths automatically brings us closer to the parasympathetic nervous system, as we just discussed. You see how my energy just went, all my excitement kind of just toned it down a little bit? Yes, God, that's what we're looking for, okay? We're looking to get into that rest and digest mode. You don't have to start meditating or anything like that unless you want to, and I highly recommend that you do. But just start by taking 3 deep breaths. Keep your mouth closed and relax. Just relax for a minute. Just calm yourself down with your breath. Just pay attention to your breath, making sure it's slow and intentional. You may even want to go beyond 3 breaths because it feels so good. Just keep breathing like that for 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Next in the ACE framework, the C is for clarity. And the prompt here is, how can I flip the script right now? Paying attention to my mind, paying attention to my thoughts, paying attention to what they're saying, asking myself, is this making sense? Are these thoughts making sense? Pay attention to the current script that's running, and also pay attention to how this current script is what this current script is creating as a reaction in you. If you don't feel good about what's happening, if you're feeling anxious or uneasy, the first place that you have to go, that you must go if you want to bring yourself out of it as quickly as possible, is to your thoughts, because they are directly impacting how you're feeling. Okay, how you think about a thing is how you feel about a thing, is how you experience a thing. So again, clarity is flipping that script, paying attention to the current script, keep breathing, keep keeping your mouth shut, and keep asking yourself and exploring if these thoughts make any sense, because a lot of times they don't, okay? Lastly, the E in the ACE framework is for experience, and the prompt here is delusions of grandeur. And this is where we actually identify what it is that we prefer to be experiencing and reverse engineer our way to thoughts that will invoke those feelings or experience within us. So to summarize ACE in a nutshell, Keep breathing, keep your mouth shut, keep asking yourself questions, and explore if your thoughts make sense, or if they're helpful, or if they are empowering you. And then challenge yourself to completely flip the script and find and create thoughts that will bring you peace and empowerment. Okay. So, in conclusion, your unresolved trauma, how it shows up in the nervous system response, is the ultimate magnet for what you're attracting and what you're continuing to experience. Okay. Number two, the only way to deprogram your trauma responses is to go internal. You cannot wait on external circumstances to be ideal for you to feel good. It will never happen. Nothing's going to be perfect ever, except what you have control over, which is your perspective and your mind. Take control of what you have access to, which is your breath, your thoughts, your reaction. If you can start to consistently do this, your life will change tremendously in a very short period of time. The sky is the limit once you get this down. Number three, if you're interested in applying this ACE framework to your triggers, not only applying this ACE framework to your triggers, but also as to reinvent yourself and unlock your ultimate potential, my 8-week Be Unrecognizable coaching cohort begins on October 1st. You can go ahead and apply through the link under this video or in the comments. And again, in the cohort, we're going to be meeting daily and weekly to process and transform in a safe and intimate space designed for you to come out of that anxious mind and back into your feminine power, which is your heart and which is your emotions. Okay. Again, we're going to be learning that ACE framework. We're going to be getting clear about who the next best version of us is. Then we're going to be identifying our high impact task for who that next version of us is. And we're going to be meeting for framework education, accountability, reflection, regrouping, daily support, guidance, and sharing wins. And yes, God. So please feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions or clarifications. Again, please subscribe to my newsletter for more helpful information about how you can become a magnet for miracles. Yes, God. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I am sending you lots and lots of love. Okay? Yes, God. Till next time.